Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Welcome to USA Prepares. This is your captain speaking, John Regan. I'll be your guest host today. In case you missed us yesterday, Vincent's not at Gitmo. It's just one of those situations of life interfering with life. We've got things that normally occur in our daily lives, and when you're a farmer, that probably about triples or quadruples it, and he's just got some things that he's got to take care of during what would be normal broadcast hours for us. So he asked me to step in and take control of the mic and just keep the seat warm until he gets back, which right now we're expecting to be on Friday. Do want to let you know that next weekend, June 25th and 26th, the RK Prepper Show is going to be at the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds in Springfield, Missouri. There'll be a number of your USA Prepares instructors there. I wish I could be there, but I just can't make it that far, especially since I'm on the verge of moving yet again. That'll be at the end of next month for me. But we'll have some really great people there: Dr. Richard Allen Miller, Matt Stein, Craig Douglas, and of course Vincent. Then on Saturday evening, which is June 25th at 6 p.m., they're hosting a special meetup at Jimmy's Egg, and you can meet a bunch of your instructors there. Dinner is Dutch treat, available for less than $10. And Vincent's asking if you plan on going, if you would just send him an email at Vincent@USAPrepares.com and let him know how many people are going to be attending with you. And I just want to reserve space. And he's asking you put USA Prepares Reunion in the subject line. And students, instructors, and guests are all welcome. Well, today is Wednesday, and that means we have Dr. Norman Shealy. Good morning, Dr. Shealy.
Hello?
Dr. Shealy.
Yes, are you there?
I'm here.
Good. Well, two of the best intuitives, as you know, I've worked for many, many years with people who are highly intuitive. Two of the best that I know both think, quote, the crash will come before the election. You think it'll come before the election, after the election, or not until after the Obama leaves office?
Well, the way I'm looking at things, I think we've got if you look at the chart for Weimar Germany and the hyperinflation that happened, you'll see the point at which things became unhinged and things started getting worse at an increasing pace. And then it reaches a point where, that just kicks in, goes up practically, vertical, and you only last about a year, maybe two at best, once it hits that part of the curve. I think we can look back and see that 2014 is probably where things unhinged. That's where we had this deflation stuff kick in, the negative interest rates, and we started having the pension funds pop this year. And it is quite possible that things can happen. I pretty much expect this year is when we turn the corner and everybody figures out, we're not in Kansas anymore. Whether it's before the election, after the election, can't really say. I really don't think it's going to be before the Democratic and Republican conventions, and it might not even be before the election, simply for the reason that so many people out there in the establishment hate Trump. They don't want to do a darn thing that will help him get elected. And if the economy hits that really bad point, I think it doesn't speak well for the chances of the Democratic candidate. But I could be wrong. There's so much pressure that's building in all kinds of places. I don't know if they can keep a cap on it until the election. We're seeing it on the commodity side, including gold and silver. We're seeing it on the banking side, especially banks in Europe. We're going to see a lot more pressure here in the United States. A lot of the insurance plans change over in the fall. Depends on what the fiscal year of the company is. And with the increases that they're seeing this year because of Obamacare, that could be the straw that breaks the camel's back for people affording things. But the one thing is for sure, it's going to be interesting.
Well, yes, and interesting. I sent out one of my e-news today about the decrease in testosterone with cell phones. I'm sure Vince would have been happy with that one. I mean, there is evidence unequivocally now that cell phones decrease men's ability to make testosterone.
I saw that, and that's it's interesting that there's, especially with the Internet of Things, they want to increase the usage of Wi-Fi and cellular technology for the communication between all these devices. So instead of things getting better, it looks like they're going to get worse.
Well, and the interesting thing is that the sperm count of the average male is now 20 to 40 million, whereas 70 years ago it was 150 million. Now, the reason I bring all of this up is this is part of a broad picture that I see of significant toxicity.
Well, there's other things going on too, and I don't know if you saw the article about Generation Snowflake, who are so fragile they can't take any kind of confrontation to their preconceived ideas, or they break down.
Oh, right. Well, I mean that's the I've got to have a retreat place to keep me from being criticized. That kind of crap.
And these people can't reason anymore, and especially knowing the brain, I'm not sure that their brain can change enough to let them function normally. And I'm looking back at what happened. Once we had to have the two-earner household to pay for things. The mom goes to work, and I was part of that back in the late 70s. The first few months, fortunately, my daughter was breastfed and was with us. But then my wife and I were both Air Force officers, so as soon as we went on after duty, she went into daycare. But at the time, that was really before Videotapes even got to be very common. They still had videotape rentals, but it was not totally mainstream at that point. So you still had to have personal interaction at that level. And as time progressed, it's now you've got these kids, the mom gets back to work as soon as possible. The kid gets into daycare. They're ignored. And as soon as they can do something, they're, put in front of a screen watching something or, playing a game. And then when they get a little bit older, they get a phone where they're texting and the personal interaction isn't there anymore. In addition to the, the normal touching and communication that you would normally have with your parents. And I'm not really sure that's fixable.
Well, I agree with you. I think it's not. And the problem is that, this whole system is so broken, not just financially, economically, but nutritionally, health-wise, in every way possible. Just yesterday, another long-term friend of mine got in touch with me that even her regular physician had suddenly found that she is totally deficient in virtually all the B vitamins, even though she, quote, eats a good diet. And what I have been pointing out for at least 40 years is that even if you raise all of your own food, you can only get a certain amount of vitamins out of well-grown vegetables. And I believe that the requirement for health has multiplied manyfold because of general toxicity. Emmanuel Shiraskin, even back in the 70s, showed that the optimal intake of vitamin C in the late 70s was 1,000 milligrams a day, whereas the recommended daily requirement is 60 milligrams. And it's probably, if it was 1,000 in the 70s, probably 2,000 now. And there's no way you can get that out of food if you try.
No, and plants aren't alchemists either. If the mineral's not in the soil, it can't be in the plant. And I did some calculations based on something you said about magnesium, and we'll talk about that when we get back from the break.
Absolutely.
Class, I'm a survivalist, and my plan is to be independent of everything that I can so that supply chain disruptions have a minimum impact on our family. What's the first thing that you do when the power goes out? I've researched the best value solar energy system that I can find, one that's backed by the technical support necessary for the undertaking. The system's installed and is generating electricity right now with equipment purchased from ironedison.com. You heard Brandon Williams, CEO of ironedison.com, right here on USA Prepares. Together, we designed our system. In my opinion, our ironedison.com system has more features, more value, and more potential than any other system I've found. We chose the Snyder Electric system with a hybrid inverter, charge controller, power panel, battery disconnect, and the system control panel. If you want energy independence, as we have, please consider calling the engineering team at ironedison.com, 720-432-6433, 720-432-6433.
Today, how to incorporate your business in just 10 minutes so you won't lose everything if you get sued. Step 1, stop putting it off. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business tomorrow, it's not just your business at risk. You can lose everything: your home, your car, even your life savings. Step 2, call the following number for a free 10-minute incorporation guide from Incorporate.com. 1-800-941-5257. They don't provide legal or financial advice. They just make incorporating quick and easy. So you can incorporate or form an LLC in just 10 minutes. That number again is 1-800-941-5257. Step 3, congratulate yourself. By taking just 10 minutes to incorporate your business or form an LLC, you protected your home, your car, and your life savings. And that is how you incorporate your business in just 10 minutes. But hurry while they're still giving away these 10-minute incorporation guides for free. Call 1-800-941-5257. That's 1-800-941-5257. Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
My name is Don Wiskin. In 1994, I lost my 62-year-old father to complications of bypass surgery. In 1977, my 44-year-old brother was found dead in his apartment. He suffered a heart attack. In January of 98, my mother had a stroke and passed away in her bed. 21 days later, my 53-year-old brother passed away on his arrival to the hospital. He waited too long. In June that same year, I almost joined them at 42. What did I do? I took a 7-herb formula I now call Extendivite, made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, hawthorn, milk thistle, and valerian. Based on German studies of natural medicine, Extendivite is designed to clear blocked arteries, clean the toxins from your blood, and improve your immune system. To get your Extendivite, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website, heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite. DarkCityDefense.com was born in Black Mountain, at the foot of the Black Mountain Range in North Carolina. From the Dark City, as it's affectionately been named, we've built an online firearms pro store that boasts a vast range of firearms, optics, and outdoor supplies. With aggressively low everyday pricing and a free gift pack with every firearms purchase, DarkCityDefense.com is committed to Tier 1 customer service and overcoming darkness by turning on the light of liberty. Find the light in our logo and find out more at DarkCityDefense.com.
This is John Regan at the controls today. Have Dr. Norman Shealy with us, and I forgot to give out the call-in number. If you have a question for Dr. Shealy, it's 1-866-582-9933. I think it was about a couple of weeks ago when you were talking about magnesium chloride, and you made the comment that we need about 2.5 to 4 grams of magnesium a day. And I ended up emailing you, was that magnesium or magnesium chloride? And you told me it was magnesium. So I sat down and do what I do. I run the numbers. First off, in America, we don't think in grams, we think in pounds. So I did the conversion from grams to pounds, and times 365 days, that means we need between a little over 2 to a little over 3.2, which would be about 3 pounds, 3 ounces per person per year. Well, if you're using magnesium chloride to do that with, then we need to know how much magnesium chloride would you need. So I go in and look up the atomic weight of magnesium, which is a little over 24.3. Chlorine is 35.45. And the formula for magnesium chlorides, magnesium, 1 atom of magnesium for 2 atoms of chlorine. So that means the atomic weight of magnesium chloride is just over 95, which when you look at that ratio, then it's almost a 4-to-1 weight-wise, 3.917 of chlorine to magnesium. So to multiply that up to get the amount of magnesium you need would translate to just under 8 pounds, 7.88, to just over 12.5 pounds, 12.6 pounds of magnesium chloride per person per year. And then that doesn't include what you would want to use in your garden or for your pets. So, and then you also have to decide how long is it going to take for the supply chain to come back. And my guess is it's going to take at least a generation or 2 for that to actually happen. So I just put that together so you can do your plans for preparations, and that's in addition to the salt, which I've talked about before, the sodium chloride, which preferably it's in the form of like real salt, which is the American product, or the Himalayan pink salt. And basically, like I say, if you plan on having cattle and just have 10 head for 10 years, you need a ton of salt. So it's easy and cheap to get now, but the grid goes down, you're not going to be able to get online and order it. The local supplies are going to run out. So this is just one of those things that you have to stock up on. And in addition to the sodium and the magnesium, we need potassium as well. Dr.
Well,
Shealy?
It's another of the ones that is extremely low in the diet of the average person. And, of course, the only really good source is vegetables and fruits. Potash, when you burn a tree or wood, what's left over is largely a big hunk of potassium. And we don't put that back into the soil, and we're not going to get where we need to go, because basically the soil throughout the world is deficient in magnesium. Cattle farmers know that if they do not give their cattle magnesium supplements, they die of something called grass staggers. They lose total muscle control. And yet vegetable and fruit farmers don't add magnesium to the soil of the crops they're raising. So we've known for over 40 years that the foods found in the grocery store are highly deficient in magnesium.
And when you do the research on the nutritional value of certain products, a lot of times that research was done, decades ago, and the soil's become more depleted, and what's in there now is not necessarily what was in there then.
Exactly. The point is, being prepared is a very multi-layered thing. It's not just having toilet paper for emergencies or soap for emergencies. It's taking care of your entire lifestyle all the time. Otherwise, you are at the whim of the nonsense of society.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
This is Dan Pillett. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich, working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom106.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom106.com. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom106.com.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a select quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-4885. That's 1-800-403-4885. 1-800-403-4885. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop, you save. Get full details in the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Dangerous blood clot device alert. If you or a loved one had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to your heart or lungs and suffered an injury, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, and even death. These dangerous blood clot devices can break, and the metal fragments can travel to your heart or lungs, causing serious injuries. If you or a loved one suffered organ damage or other injuries from an IVC filter, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada. Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
This is John Regan at the controls today with Dr. Norm Shealy. Let me go ahead and give out our websites. Mine is thefinancialstateoftheunion.com. Dr. Shealy's is normshealy.com. And rather than having to remember spellings or typing out mile-long domain names like mine, you can just go to usaprepares.com and click on the Instructors tab. And if you scroll down, I'm at the top of the Financial and Legal section. And if you go to my website, click on the News tab, that's where I post the articles that I attempt to talk about on Mondays. So if you haven't been able to attend on Mondays, if you want to go peruse the financial section of that for the last couple of months, you'll get a feel for what I'm seeing. And then if you keep on scrolling down to the health and medicine section, right at the top is Dr. Norman Shealy and has the link for his website. And if you don't already subscribe to his newsletter, I highly recommend you do that. There's no charge. You just go to the site, sign up. And he's also got a lot of great information there, including his recommendations for supplements you should be taking, including the things like the D3 and the K2. And the list, unfortunately, isn't short because our food doesn't have the nutrition it needs anymore. Dr. Shealy?
Well, the problem is, back to what I was saying earlier, toxicity. Toxicity, in my opinion, has gotten so bad that unless you take adequate supplements, you are going to have health problems. We now really are fairly certain that somewhere between 80 and 90% of all illnesses are the result of some, and usually multiple, nutritional deficiencies. And you can't get them out of food anymore. You've got to have extra supplements or you're going to be in trouble.
And sometimes it's a matter of getting the right form. It's like I've learned, especially as you get older, your body can't absorb things as well. And some people have problems with certain forms of vitamins. And that's why I'm now buying the methylated forms of B vitamins. It's like you talk about with magnesium. You can only take so much of it orally. You need to apply it topically so that you get it in your body. And it's a learning process.
Well, of course it is. And that's why people like me keep writing lots of email newsletters and other such things, because the establishment is the problem, not the answer. And that's true, in my opinion, in virtually every aspect of life today. The establishment, whether it's political, medical, doesn't matter. They all, I'm being kind, say they all suck. Name me one really outstandingly good thing that government does.
Spend money.
Okay, name one good thing.
You got me there.
Medicine is fairly good. I give it somewhere between a B and a C for taking care of acute illnesses and injuries. But when it comes to chronic problems, which is the vast majority of things, I give it an F.
And, again, we could go so into detail on some of that. I learned, of course, way back before my time, and in the 1920s, when the pharmaceutical industry invested heavily in medical schools, and thus the curriculum was changed to, of course, support pharmaceuticals.
Yes. Well, the pharmaceutical mafia is ultimately the biggest problem in modern medicine today, because I would say, and I'm being extremely generous here, over 90% of the drugs on the market are more dangerous than they are helpful. But
go ahead and finish.
We can't all be perfect like us, but they could try.
I look forward to our times together. In fact, I've got a place in my Evernote where I file articles for the next time I get a chance to be on the air with you. And one of the ones I filed was an article from the Daily Mail on May 6th. And the headline is, "High blood pressure? Drinking cherry juice is as good as medicine," study claims. So I thought of you.
About it. Tart cherry juice is superb. It's not quite as good as Nitro Extreme, but it's worth trying. For roughly $1 a day, or at the most $2 a day, is drinking maybe 2 ounces instead of 1 ounce of tart cherry juice concentrate. If that does not control your blood pressure, then you need to go to Nitro Extreme, and that's going to cost you maybe $2.50 a day. And if that doesn't work, then you go to taurine plus a high-potency B vitamin plus my youth formula, and that's going to cost you maybe $3 a day. But it's worth it, because we're talking about safety and efficacy versus harm. Basically, 55% of people who take up to 3 antihypertensive drugs are made worse. They have no benefit on their blood pressure, and they develop, among other things, fatigue, and if they're a male, erectile dysfunction. But other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, the play goes on. Literally, I can control hypertension 99.5+% of the time without drugs safely.
I was thinking of the diet side of that. It was, I believe it was 2005 when I found out about this, and it's something that Doug Kaufman pushes. He calls it the Phase 1 diet, and it basically eliminates the sugars and the starches from your diet, which gets rid of a lot of the processed food too. And just doing that, my blood pressure at the time was in the 140s over 90s. And within 2 weeks, it was in the, like the 110s to lower 120s over, around 80, maybe even the 70s, just by changing diet.
Oh, I mean, that's true, not just for hypertension, of course, but for many, many, many illnesses. Have you, I know we've talked about weight once or twice in the past. Do you know the simplest, safest way and healthiest way to adjust your weight without trouble?
Go ahead and tell us.
Well, start before anything else with a minimum of 50 grams of quality protein. Now, I've been doing that for a long time. It's good for people who don't need to lose weight, too. But I take 1 scoop of whey protein isolate. That's 25 grams of the best protein available. I take 2 little tiny scoops of dried peanut butter, almost no fat, and 10 more grams of quality protein. And then 1 cup of Greek yogurt, and that's another 25 grams of protein. Mix that in whatever you like. It could be 6 ounces of apple juice or any pure juice. That amount of protein starts your metabolism off absolutely ideally. It takes a lot more energy, interestingly, to digest protein than it does carbohydrate or fat. So first of all, you're getting low calories with very little fat, but you're getting the protein, which is essential for muscles and brain chemistry and everything else. And so I urge that as one of the safest, bestest things you can do. The other 2 main meals should consist primarily of quality protein, and that means some kind of flesh food and any number of non-starchy vegetables. That's an ideal diet. And it satisfies your hunger, and it just works.
Yeah, I learned a bit from an obesity doctor back in the 90s, and this was fortunately close to the end of the Fin thing. And I had gotten on Fin, but was only on it for 2 or 3 months, and fortunately didn't get too much damage out of that. But that's where I learned how certain things work in the body. When you consume carbohydrates, which your brain runs off glucose, your body can only use so much of that at a time, and then the carbohydrates gets converted to fat. And once it's converted to fat, it can't be converted back to be fuel for your brain, but the fat can be used as fuel for your muscles. And when you're looking at what you need to do for your diet once you don't have that supply chain, you don't want to overload on the carbs, which may be what you're storing up food-wise, because your body can only use so much of that at a time, and then you've got hormones that kick in to do that conversion, and that causes issues. You don't want to go overboard on proteins, because that can cause its own issues, but you do need the proteins, for sure your body needs to rebuild itself with. It's the healthy fats that we tend to ignore in the diet, and that's the powerhouse, 9 calories per gram that your muscles can use for work, and I'll let you talk about that when we get back.
Okay.
Class, I'm a survivalist, and my plan is to be independent of everything that I can so that supply chain disruptions have a minimum impact on our family. What's the first thing that you do when the power goes out? I've researched the best value solar energy system that I can find, one that's backed by the technical support necessary for the undertaking. The system's installed and is generating electricity right now, with equipment purchased from ironedison.com. You heard Brandon Williams, CEO of ironedison.com, right here on USA Prepares. Together, we designed our system. In my opinion, our ironedison.com system has more features, more value, and more potential than any other system I've found. We chose the Snyder Electric system with a hybrid inverter, charge controller, power panel, battery disconnect, and the system control panel. If you want energy independence, as we have, please consider calling the engineering team at ironedison.com, 720-432-6433, 720-432-6433.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
There's nothing more enticing and intoxicating than the finest meat cooking on an open flame. Freeze-dried meat from newharvest.com is U.S. grown, 100% all-natural with no extra fillers. Just grass-fed beef and free-range chicken guaranteed to stay fresh and delicious. Add New Harvest freeze-dried meats to your current food storage. You'll buy direct from the factory, not a third party, ensuring the best price and the highest quality. See all our products at newharvestfoods.com. That's newharvestfoods.com.
Think about this. Your community's aging water infrastructure systems are very likely to be contaminated with heavy metals like lead, disinfection chemicals like ammonia, chlorine and chloramines, and pharmaceuticals like statins, pain meds, and antidepressants. And no, water treatment plants are not equipped to filter these pharmaceutical toxins out. Protect your family's water supply with the trusted Big Berkey water filter. New NSF EPA-certified lab tests show Big Berkey water filters remove chloramines, pharmaceuticals, BPA, pesticides, bacteria, and viruses, all forms of fluoride, and much more. Big Berkey water filters are the original and most trusted on the market, the gold standard in water purification, and our filters last for years at less than 2 cents per gallon. Big Berkey, the one powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get your Big Berkey today. Call 1-877-99-BERKEY or click BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
We use mobile devices right against our bodies every day, but growing scientific evidence has emerged showing serious health risks associated with exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The solution is Defender Shield, the most effective mobile radiation shielding ever developed. Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation from cell phones, tablets, and laptops, and starts at just $64.99. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. For 10% off, use promo code GCN. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in mobile radiation shielding.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
Are you worried about how dangerous the world has become? In these days of terrorist attacks, natural disasters, or even a future collapse, you need to be medically prepared to keep your family safe. I'm Joe Alton, MD of store.doomandbloom.net, where you'll find an entire line of uniquely designed medical kits and supplies for when help is not on the way. For everything from individual first aid kits to the ultimate family medical bag, go to store.doomandbloom.net today. That's store.doomandbloom.net. You'll be glad you did.
It's John Regan sitting in for Vincent with Dr. Norman Shealy. And I'll just do my quick rant on food labels. You know, it talks about protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And you'd think that's what food is made of, when in fact there's different forms of carbohydrates. There's different amino acids of proteins, and there's different types of fats. And it's important to get certain kinds of those. And in fact, even with our supply chain now, we tend to get way too much of the omega-6 vegetable oil, too little of the omega-3, which we pretty much get from fish now. But we used to get that even from our chickens and our beef when we just let them free range like nature intended. And while we can stock up on the carbohydrates and the proteins, the bigger problem is trying to stock up on fats, because fat will go rancid, and rancid fat's no good for you.
Well, that's particularly true. And a lot of fats are no good for you. The polyunsaturated instead of the monounsaturated are not good for you. The omega-6s and 9s versus the omega-3s are not good, etc., and on it goes. You have to really be prepared, which means you study up on everything related to health.
And trans fat isn't even real fat.
Well, no, I've given up calling it what I really want to call it, but you can in today's politically correct world. But no, it's dangerous. That's being kind.
It's like I say, that there is a good use for Crisco, but it's not for eating. Make candles out of it instead.
Yes, it's interesting how many people really just don't pay attention to life in general. I mean, when you look at who's been elected in politics for the last 8 years, that alone tells you a majority of people don't have an IQ high enough that they should be voting, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion.
Well, it's, you reap what you sow, and we've had these schools that don't teach much of anything that's worthwhile, and even at the collegiate level anymore. And I've made the comment myself, after going and getting my master's in finance back in 2009, 2010, we don't even get a good financial education at the graduate level.
Well, depending upon where you go, and I'm not sure about that, I don't have the answer, I would think the majority of those so-called financial wizard schools have been wrong for the last 100 years.
They've gotten locked into the Keynesian model, and then they don't even bother investigating, which is what I've done with my time. Is I've gone in and looked at the financial report of the United States. I've looked at the Social Security trustee report, and I've pulled the tables from their website, and I've gone and actually looked at them, which is something anybody with a financial education could do, and see how insane some of their assumptions are.
Well, yeah, in the entire Western world seems to be at a crisis level, and it's a real question as to whether the Middle East or the East will take over. And heaven only knows, I'm not personally certain that either one of those would be an improvement.
Well, you think it'd probably be difficult to do worse than what we've got now, but you never know.
Well, we can talk about that after this little break.
This is John Ravens, Dr. Norman Shealy. We'll be back after the top of the hour news.
How many of you want to learn how to dig up bugs, worms, and raise crickets for food? Do you prefer to eat them dried and crunchy or while still alive? Well, you won't have to if you can defend your food supply from predators. You may want to get an AR-15 kit from guns80.com and build your own AR-15 rifle from a kit. If you can legally own a rifle, you can purchase this AR-15 kit. If you're handy, you can complete the rifle in about an hour. The kit comes with all the parts you're going to need to build your rifle, but you'll need a drill press. And survivalists need one anyway. The Guns80.com team purchased the same used floor-standing drill press that I have for $100. You can too. And when you're finished, you'll have a paperwork-free AR-15 rifle, a drill press, drill bits, and the knowledge to maintain your AR-15 rifle, all for less than you expect. So if you want a paperwork-free AR-15 parts kit like mine, visit Guns80.com, Guns80.com, and let the unprepared have our share of the bugs.
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
This is Holly Thomas, Group Vice President of Cause Marketing for Macy's. Our company is working together with the March of Dimes through March for Babies to raise money and awareness about the serious problem of premature birth in the U.S. That's why Macy's is committed to raising funds through our employees, customers, family, and friends to improve the health of moms and babies everywhere. Won't you please join us in March for Babies? Start a team today at marchforbabies.org.
Welcome to hour number 2 of USA Prepares. This is John Regan sitting in for Vincent today. If you missed last hour, I was just telling everybody how, there's sometimes things that you have to do during, daylight hours, and that's when we broadcast from 9 to 11 Central Time. And I'm just filling in for Vincent while he's getting some things done that he needs to get done. And I do want to also remind you, if you plan on going to the special meetup Saturday, the June 25th, which is next week, 6 p.m., they're meeting at Jimmy's Egg, and Vincent would like for you to just email them to let them know how many people are attending with you so they can reserve the space. If you would put the subject line USA Prepares Reunion in an email to Vincent at usaprepares.com, and he'd really appreciate that. Instructors and guests and students are all welcome. And that weekend is also the RK Prepper Show, which will be at the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds in Springfield, Missouri. And several of our USA Prepares instructors will be there presenting, including Dr. Richard Allen Miller, Matt Stein, Craig Roberts, and, of course, Vincent himself. I almost feel like one of those commercials for pharmaceuticals where the disclaimer gets to be longer than the commercial for the product, and get all the announcements in. It's Wednesday. We've got Dr. Norman Shealy with us, and I'd like to bring up another article I found on the internet talking about what we get to look forward to once the poop hits the props. There's a lot of things that we don't deal with in today's society that used to be fairly common, and the article is called 10 Diseases That Will Become Far More Common After the Collapse. And the first one they talked about was typhus. And I really hadn't paid very much close attention to that. Spread by the body louse, and it's something that we really live with all the time. But because we've got this wonderful indoor plumbing and bathe and shower regularly, we've got laundry, and so we don't have to deal with that. But when you've got no power and you don't have those sanitary conditions anymore, it's right there to ramp back up. And I was wondering, if we end up in the situation when we get typhus, what can we do about it?
Well, the interesting thing is that we don't have, even in today's world, what I would call a great treatment for typhus. The antibiotic treatment is fair but not excellent. So the best thing I can think of is to keep your immune system strong. I mean, that's the bottom line in everything, John. I would say, again, if you look at the system of the body that breaks down most easily, most commonly, that is part of the cause behind every known disease practically, it is a weak immune system. Now, the weak immune system is avoided primarily if you get adequate sleep, exercise well, eat well, and primarily take adequate vitamin C. But the interesting thing about taking adequate vitamin C, which is 2,000 milligrams, in my opinion, a day, you must increase your B6. If you don't increase your B6, you have a rare chance of increasing your risk of an oxalate kidney stone. So the two most important vitamins that I would have in stock for the crash times and in bad times in general, the two that I would most want to have available are actually a good B complex with a minimum of 25 milligrams of all of the major Bs and vitamin C. So I would try to have for the family a minimum of a year's supply of those two if I have no other supplements.
One of these days, I'm going to have to sit down and make a list, so that all you got to do is plug in some numbers, and you can figure out how much you need of these.
Oh, that's right. And now, interestingly, my youth formula, which is the one that I prefer, it also has 1,000 milligrams of MSM, methylsulfonomethane, so that you get 2,000 of C and 1,000 MSM, which is better than 3,000 of C because there is a synergistic effect. So, and my essential multivitamin mineral, one of those a day will give you the 25 milligrams of the B complex. So those are the ones that I would do. I looked up those. I'm glad you mentioned that article. I didn't know it. 10 diseases more common after the collapse. And I'm going to write one of my email newsletters about it, of course.
And I guess my understanding, vitamin C, MSM, vitamin C is kind of like the building blocks for our soft tissue, which be like our skin and our organs. And MSM, the sulfur, is needed to keep that flexible, pliable. Is that...
Exactly. You've got it. Okay. And one without the other means that you're not quite there.
Yeah, sometimes I'll, especially since I've been on vitamin C and MSM for years, I'll see some of these people on TV, and I can just look at the way their skin is, and I just say, I bet they're not getting enough vitamin C and MSM.
Right. Well, again, back to, I think, one of the greats of the last century was Emanuel Saraskin, who was both a dentist and an MD. And I think overall, his lifelong work on nutrition and its relationship to disease is among the most comprehensive that we know. And he did studies, almost 40 years ago showing that the less symptoms you had, the more likely it was you were taking optimal levels of each of the major nutrients, whether it was protein or the vitamins, various vitamins, etc. And that's got to be at least as true today as it was 40 years ago.
And, especially given all the changes in our diet, which have not been for the positive.
Well, speaking of the changes in our diet, for God's sakes, don't save for a rainy or a bad day most food in a grocery store. Basically, I'm a big canner, and I have canned for over 45 years. And canning, actually, I don't know why we call it canning, because they're really jars with a metal lid. But canned food that you do yourself, if you store it properly, will keep at least 15 years. Now, if you store it in a basement and it's a little damp, then it may begin to rust within 8 to 10 years instead of 15 or more. But that is the least expensive way. If you raise your own food, you know that you've got good quality of whatever it is you put into your canned jars. And I keep, every year I keep restocking and advanced stocking, so to speak. But I often, pull out, that goes back to 2008. I guess I better use it up. And this summer, I'm hoping my garden is as good as usual, and I will can a few hundred bottles of something.
And that's an important skill, too, because, our forefathers, knew this, that you had to store food because you could have all kinds of things happen the next growing season.
Well, yes, I learned this from my grandparents and my parents, too, of course. But, I remember so well my grandparents had a little smokehouse right there on the farm. And in the fall, when they butchered, they would, cure meat by smoking it. Smoked meat keeps a long time. And then my grandmother would can a lot of it so that it not only was preserved to some extent by the smoking, but then putting it into canning jars keeps it, much, much longer. And I'm not opposed, by the way, to the dried, dehydrated things you could buy, but they are quite a bit more expensive.
And you probably need some of those just so you can get your skill set together for raising your own food.
Well, that was the big thing. I mean, in 1999, I bought a huge supply of garden seeds that I canned, and I guess the time has come to can a new batch of garden seeds in case of bad years.
Yeah, for most of human history, if you didn't have at least 2 or 3 years of food stored up, people would think, what's wrong with you? And with the
and they didn't have to take too long because you died before it was over.
And with today's government, if you have more than a 2-week supply of food, you're a hoarder and something's wrong with you.
Well, with today's government, nothing is right as far as I'm concerned.
John Regan, Dr. Norman Shealy will be back after this break.
Class, I'm a survivalist, and my plan is to be independent of everything that I can so that supply chain disruptions have a minimum impact on our family. What's the first thing that you do when the power goes out? I've researched the best value solar energy system that I can find, one that's backed by the technical support necessary for the undertaking. The system's installed and is generating electricity right now with equipment purchased from ironedison.com. You heard Brandon Williams, CEO of ironedison.com, right here on USA Prepares. Together, we designed our system. In my opinion, our ironedison.com system has more features, more value, and more potential than any other system I've found. We chose the Snyder Electric system with a hybrid inverter, charge controller, power panel, battery disconnect, and the system control panel. If you want energy independence, as we have, please consider calling the engineering team at ironedison.com, 720-432-6433, 720-432-6433.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a select quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-4885. That's 1-800-403-4885. 1-800-403-4885. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop, you save. Get full details in the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
There's nothing more enticing and intoxicating than the finest meat cooking on an open flame. Freeze-dried meat from newharvest.com is U.S. grown, 100% all-natural with no extra fillers. Just grass-fed beef and free-range chicken guaranteed to stay fresh and delicious. Add New Harvest freeze-dried meats to your current food storage. You'll buy direct from the factory, not a third party, ensuring the best price and the highest quality. See all our products at newharvestfoods.com. That's newharvestfoods.com.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $7.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees, ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
This is John Regan at the controls with Dr. Norman Shealy. Would you like to continue on the list of the 10 diseases that will be more common after the collapse?
Well, all of them, again, I look at it, every single one of them is to some extent associated with your general health in general, for which it requires a strong immune system. I mean, the more I read that, even the increase in heart disease, which they say would come from increased physical labor, well, if you're in poor condition already, you're not going to be able to do physical labor adequately. That's one of the reasons why, that only 10% of Americans get 30 minutes of physical exercise 5 days a week. I mean, that's not like breathing. 30 minutes 5 days a week, I would be exhausted from having inadequate exercise. I do 90 minutes 7 days a week. And so I don't think that part of it would be a problem for me, but for the 90% of Americans who don't do any real exercise, that may be the most, they may die of a heart attack before they can die of an infection.
And it's like I say, you really need to be living a lifestyle pretty close to what the Amish have right now, where you're raising everything and not dependent on not so much technology. And when you're living that lifestyle, you don't have to do exercise because you're doing work.
Well, that's right. Remember, you're too young to know. But my mother did not have a real washing machine until well into the 40s. I mean, most homes, we were sort of lower middle class Americans, but she didn't have an electric washing machine until sometime after 1945. after World War II. Before that, she did all of the family laundry in a big cast iron pot out on a fire in the backyard. That was a lot of work.
Yeah, my mother was born in 1921, my dad in 1918. So I was a little out of sync generation-wise. Most of the kids I went to school with, the stories about the Depression and World War II came from their grandparents. For me, it was my parents. And there were so many changes during their life, which I thought was, you know, at the time growing up in the 60s, I thought it was quite a bit of change. Everything from, you know, radio, you know, phonograph players, get to the 50s and television. But the change is actually accelerated, especially once we hit the 90s and all this automation and computers kicked in. But to look at the lifestyle, and, you know, I'll often make comparisons to the Great Depression. We had 20% of Americans still working agriculture at the time. Now it's less than 1%. And even the people that weren't working agriculture, quite often they had their own gardens or had their chickens, even in the cities.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And we don't have that today.
You know, other than the 3 years, major years of the war, we lived in a little city of 5,000. And when I was 12 years of age, I took over the family garden. That's where I learned how to garden. And I would say and my father owned 2 grocery stores, but we still raised most of our own veggies.
Yeah, I even remember how the grocery stores were like in the early 60s. You know, it's not these huge supermarkets like we have now.
Oh, no, his grocery store back then was, I don't know, I would guess it wasn't more than 4,000 or 5,000 square feet.
And you know, today's kids have no idea what a butcher is. You know?
Well, again, going back to my childhood, my father became a butcher in a meat shop in a grocery store when he was 10 years of age. When his father died, he went to work to help support his family. And so by the time I came along, he wasn't quite ready to buy the first grocery store, but he, at any rate, sometime in my early childhood he did. And I grew up from maybe 10 or 11 years of age working in the meat department, helping. I mean, that's where I learned surgery. I worked in the meat department of my father's store.
And we'll be right back.
You know about RVs, you've heard about bunkers, but surviving is not recreation, and man wasn't made to live underground. Introducing Survivalist Camps, the ultimate fully functional off-the-grid survival bug-out house that's mobile, well-equipped, and custom-built to outlast any other RV or trailer. Go to survivalistcamps.com to learn more. That's survivalistcamps.com, providing your basic needs to survive. Survivalistcamps.com.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, a place for mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
Is negative content or comments on the web affecting your personal or professional reputation? Unfavorable comments, embarrassing pictures, videos, legal documents, and negative articles can ruin your personal life, your career, or your business. It happens a lot, and it's just not fair. But what can you do? ReputationDefender.com can help protect your good name. Get a free consultation now. Call 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Call right now for a free expert reputation analysis. It's easy to squash the unfair attacks with our patented system, and the analysis is absolutely free. Make the best things about you jump out in searches. Protect your personal and professional reputation, your business, and your income. Get your free reputation analysis from ReputationDefender.com right now. Call 800-831-0771. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com today.
This is a healthcare alert from the Pain Relief Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee, back, shoulder, or ankle pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You don't have to suffer any longer. You can immediately qualify for a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost to you by calling our 24/7 Pain Relief Hotline at 866-389-0620. Delivery is free and all paperwork is handled for you. If you are on Medicare and have knee, back, shoulder, or ankle pain, don't wait. You can qualify to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost by calling our 24/7 Pain Hotline now at 866-389-0620. Our representatives are standing by 24/7 to take your call and rush you your pain-relieving brace at little or no cost to you. Shipping is free and all paperwork is handled for you. Just call 866-389-0620. That's 866-389-0620. Again, 866-389-0620.
Dangerous blood clot device alert. If you or a loved one had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to your heart or lungs and suffered an injury, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, and even death. These dangerous blood clot devices can break, and the metal fragments can travel to your heart or lungs, causing serious injuries. If you or a loved one suffered organ damage or other injuries from an IVC filter, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
John Regan at the controls today, Dr. Norman Shealy. His website is normshealy.com. And like I say, if you haven't already subscribed to his newsletter, highly recommend that. Not only is Dr. Shealy I consider a vital national resource, his website's pretty good too. He's got lots of articles on there, including his recommendations for supplementation. He's also got a web store so you can purchase a number of things, including his magnesium products. He's also written a number of books so that you can have this wonderful information available in paper form once the poop hits the props. Dr. Shealy?
Well, interestingly, I am about to introduce sometime within the next month and make available our crushed sapphire crystal pouches. I'm impressed enough with the work that I've done over the last year plus on that. Two bits of research we've done. Number one, we did a relatively small but important study with 16 people, and 10 of them were given the crushed sapphire, and 6 of them were given sand, but they didn't know who was getting what. And those who got the crushed sapphire decreased their depression and anxiety symptoms 93% in 1 week. I mean, that is phenomenal. In addition, at least 2 of us who've done what I started out to look at, wearing these 24 well, not 16 hours a day, really, from the time you get up until you go to bed, have had a striking decrease in calcification in the coronary arteries. And so this is beginning to look like the least effort it will take for people just to put it on in the morning and take it off in the evening without having to put a lot of work into it. And so I've actually ordered 100 kilograms of crushed sapphire so that we can make these pouches more available. I'll of course be writing newsletters when it's available. But, you know, my goal and research for the last 60 plus years has been the things that are simplest and safest. I look for what can we do that will improve health in some way that is simple and always safe.
Yeah, I've got quite an education locally here from Dr. Jerry Tennant. He was a world-class ophthalmologist, and you know, at the time they thought that the surgical mask would protect them from anything. That you know, when that laser hits the eyeball, you know, that puff of smoke comes up, and they thought that if there was any pathogens in there that it would destroy them, but that's not the case. And he ended up getting a couple of infections in his brain and spleen, and it got so bad he was able to diagnose, but he couldn't remember how to write a prescription. He started getting tremors, which, you know, if you're operating in somebody's eye, that's not a good thing to have. And he was literally, you know, based on his blood work, you know, just a couple of months away from dying back in the 90s before he found, you know, alternative medicine and energy medicine. And he does a seminar locally that's actually the first day of his class for people that buy the Tennant Biomodulator, which is another story. And it was in that, you know, where I've learned so many things, like how trans fat really, you know, destroys how our cells store energy, and how our bodies really are energy vehicles. And I forgot where I was going to begin with on this, but
well, he is one of the rare physicians out of the box who has, and unusual in that he's an ophthalmologist, although any physician out of the box is unusual. He has focused a great deal on using electricity and various forms of electrical healing, as I have since at least the mid-'60s. So there's just no question that, you know, we can do a great deal with various forms of electricity. For instance, I saw a man in the last week or two who had severe and incapacitating pain in most of his left chest after removal of some kind of benign so-called tumor, but it left him with nerve damage. So his whole, you know, half of his whole left chest is in pain. Interestingly, I tried Regulatins or Shealy tins. I tried a List cranial stimulator. None of them did much. But the thing that worked well was pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, PEMF. And so I've sent him home to use that an hour or two every day, because I think for some people, and I suspect that his, by the way, is partly a diabetic neuropathy that was creeping up on him at the time he had the surgery. And that can damage any nerve in your body. And we have found that pulsed electromagnetic field therapy is particularly good in diabetic neuropathy.
And just in the normal way the body works, when a new cell gets generated, it takes a spike in energy. And if you don't have the energy and you don't have the building blocks for the cell. The combination of those is really bad. But even if you do have good nutrition, if you don't have the energy, the cell doesn't get made properly.
Right. And that's where pulsed electromagnetic field therapy is particularly good. It provides this remarkable low energy and mostly low frequency, 1 to 100 cycles per second, that are amazingly helpful in nerve damage.
Before I moved to the Ozarks, there was an exhibit going around, and it came to Dallas. This was like 2009, 2010, where they had taken these donated bodies and made art out of them, but it was also very educational. And, when you talk about things like the acupuncture meridians, it's not some new age type thing. Your body actually has these nerves, these energy conduits that work a lot like the wiring in your house. And
right.
You've got different circuits, and your teeth sit on one of those circuits. They don't complete the circuit, so there's a big connection between your dental health and your overall health, and how symptoms from various parts of the body can be related just based on that circuit. And he did a study with an oncologist, and virtually all the cancer tumors that they found were sitting on the same acupuncture meridian as I think it was a root canal tooth. And one of the main exceptions to that was somebody that smoked heavily. So,
have you met Luke Cassidy?
No, I haven't.
Well, fortunately, I'm extremely blessed that I guess it was at the expo in Lebanon, almost a year and a half ago now, that I met him, and he brought me, he's an engineer who made his own very simple but effective pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. And he made some adjustments that I asked him to do, which I call chakra sweep, and that's what I've been playing with now for over the last year. And I do consider it one of the best pulsed electromagnetic field units that I know. I'm impressed that it's quite as good as $18,000 commercial devices, and I think it's going to be available for about $3,500 before it's over. So, the interesting thing is that the longer you go, the more we find some extremely smart person who comes up with something bigger, and sometimes bigger or smaller, but more effective.
And, I've also been fortunate to have come in contact with a number of people, and I look at a lot of things in different disciplines, and, so I can, even though I'm probably one of the few people in the United States that went through high school and college without even a course in biology, but, even at that, I can sit down, have some great discussions with medical doctors, and can turn around and do the same thing with accountants, with, tech people. And that's how I've been able to, draw some connections that a lot of people don't see. And, I don't take total credit on that. I think my life's been guided. And believe me, I wouldn't wish what I've gone through on anybody. But, we take, if we can take advantage of these lessons, it's to our advantage.
Yeah, no question about it. We know that the brain and the mind are phenomenally talented and remarkably variable. And the more you use it, the better it gets. It is one of those things, just like muscles in effect, but I think probably even more versatile in muscles. The more you use it, the more options you have for the places where you can go and learn and enjoy using your mind.
We've been talking about nutrition. I came across this other article, and we'll talk about that when we get back from this break.
Class, I'm a survivalist, and my plan is to be independent of everything that I can so that supply chain disruptions have a minimum impact on our family. What's the first thing that you do when the power goes out? I've researched the best value solar energy system that I can find, one that's backed by the technical support necessary for the undertaking. The system's installed and is generating electricity right now with equipment purchased from ironedison.com. You heard Brandon Williams, CEO of ironedison.com, right here on USA Prepares. Together, we designed our system. In my opinion, our ironedison.com system has more features, more value, and more potential than any other system I've found. We chose the Snyder Electric system with a hybrid inverter, charge controller, power panel, battery disconnect, and the system control panel. If you want energy independence, as we have, please consider calling the engineering team at ironedison.com, 720-432-6433, 720-432-6433.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
You know about RVs, you've heard about bunkers, but surviving is not recreation, and man wasn't made to live underground. Introducing Survivalist Camps, the ultimate fully functional off-the-grid survival bug-out house that's mobile, well-equipped, and custom-built to outlast any other RV or trailer. Go to survivalistcamps.com to learn more. That's survivalistcamps.com, providing your basic needs to survive. Survivalistcamps.com.
The following is an incredible, life-changing free offer for anyone with hearing problems who wants to start hearing everything more clearly again. We're now offering free in-home trials of a revolutionary hearing breakthrough called Listen Clear to anyone who calls this special toll-free number now, 1-800-957-9364. Call in the next 10 minutes and you'll also qualify for free shipping and free batteries for life. Listen Clear is precisely designed by top audio engineers. It adjusts to let you find the perfect way to hear everything, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And Listen Clear is so invisible, people may not even know you're wearing it. And it's so lightweight, you may even forget you're wearing it too. Don't miss this special life-changing opportunity to hear everything more clearly again for free, with a 100% free in-home trial, free shipping, and even free batteries for life. For free information, call now. 1-800-957-9364. That's 1-800-957-9364. 1-800-957-9364.
Ted Anderson telling you about Jordan Rubin's Beyond Organic Green-Fed Raw Cheddar Artesian Cheese featuring whole milk created through ancient dairy breeding, unpasteurized, untreated whole milk on the same farm the cows graze, containing natural sources of omega-3s, CLA protein, calcium, probiotics, and enzymes. I have never tasted cheese this good, and you need to try it. Contact your longevity distributor or call 877-878-4203 or go to gcnteam.com.
Hi, I'm 54 years of age, and at Christmas time last year, a resident I take care of at work accidentally rolled over my right foot with his motorized scooter. I was backed into a corner, and he put it in reverse and did it again. The bones in my foot weren't actually broken, but damage was done. The remedy was to just let the foot heal on its own, and this was expected to take many weeks. As a caregiver, I do a lot of walking, and I was sort of okay when I was in motion. It's when I stopped to rest that I really felt the pain. The pain was there getting out of bed in the morning, too. So I got on the One World Way a few weeks back, and I just had to write this testimony. No more pain. Nothing. I can only attribute this to the One World Way since I haven't introduced anything else into my life. This product is a true godsend. It gives me energy and did whatever magic this stuff does to heal my poor foot. I will take One World Way for life. Sincerely, Holly.
Call 888-988-3325 or visit oneworldway.com. That's oneworldwhey.com.
The best kept secret in the firearms business is CDNNsports.com. CDNN Sports is the largest firearms liquidator in the U.S. We've got optics, accessories, gun parts, magazines, ammunition, and more. Sign up for our email specials today for the best gun deals, period. You will also be entered to win a Winchester 101 field shotgun. Go to Charlie, Delta, Novembersports.com. That's CDNNsports.com.
This is John Regan with Dr. Norman Shealy, and I was getting ready to talk about another article I'd found in the Daily Mail. Vegetarian diet raises risk of heart disease and cancer. And,
hey, that doesn't surprise me at all.
And
I consider veganism a fetish, and that means a severe psychoneurosis. These people, sooner or later, are going to have trouble. One thing I like to remind vegans of is that they will die if they do not take two products made by animals, vitamin B12 and taurine. The one that's going to kill them maybe first is B12 deficiency. And sooner or later, they're going to have trouble with that. And its best source, of course, is made in animals. But it's a weak diet. And it's a crazy diet, in my opinion. So I have nothing good to say about it. Now, lacto-ovo, where you eat eggs and milk products, you can get by. And Ellen G. White, the founder of Seventh-day Adventism, was a lacto-ovo vegetarian. But interestingly, this extremely bright, intuitive woman said, when you're ill, you need meat. So even she, who was lacto-ovo vegetarian, said, when you're sick, you better eat meat. Fascinating.
What these researchers found is that long-term vegetarian diets mean that populations will see changes to their DNA that makes them more susceptible to inflammation. And that inflammation then would raise the risk of heart disease and cancer. So it's true in our today's diet, we eat too much animal protein, and that animal protein is raised probably in a commercial operation that's not good for you anyway, and we don't eat enough vegetables, but that doesn't mean you throw out the meat and just go to veggies.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Extremely important, John. The quality of the food is at the top of the list of things to think about. It's just critically important that you use common sense, the uncommon commodity, when it comes to everything you do in life, including being prepared in every conceivable way. But the most important of all that being prepared is really nutrition, isn't it? I mean, that's the one that you can live, 3 minutes roughly without air, maybe in most of the year 2 weeks or so without water, and maybe up to a month without food, not doing very well during that time. But in the long run, of the common things, food is the single most essential, and the quality of that food is very important.
Now, I've heard people recommend, giving your body a break and maybe doing veggies for a period, say 2 or 3 weeks to let your body relax from digesting the heavier animal protein. What would your thoughts be on that?
Well, Edgar Casey used to say, if you have a castor oil personality, take castor oil. I say, if you've got a vegan personality, eat vegetables only. But personally, I don't enjoy it. I would go stark, raving hungry after 3 weeks of vegetation only. I just know that my body likes real protein.
Okay. And of course, it's important to know where your food comes from, how it's raised, because our plants are quite often doused with Roundup, and our animals are, not given the opportunity to rove and eat the way they used to.
Exactly. Again, we're back to the common sense commodity.
If we only had a pill for that.
Yes, it would be nice.
Well, Dr. Shealy, it's nice being on with you again, and thanks for being with us.
Always, John. Thanks a lot.
And remember, class, honesty and integrity, what happens next is up to you.
How many of you want to learn how to dig up bugs, worms, and raise crickets for food? Do you prefer to eat them dried and crunchy or while still alive? Well, you won't have to if you can defend your food supply from predators. You may want to get an AR-15 kit from guns80.com and build your own AR-15 rifle from a kit. If you can legally own a rifle, you can purchase this AR-15 kit. If you're handy, you can complete the rifle in about an hour. The kit comes with all the parts you're going to need to build your rifle, but you'll need a drill press. And survivalists need one anyway. The Guns80.com team purchased the same used floor-standing drill press that I have for $100. You can too. And when you're finished, you'll have a paperwork-free AR-15 rifle, a drill press, drill bits, and the knowledge to maintain your AR-15 rifle, all for less than you expect. So if you want a paperwork-free AR-15 parts kit like mine, visit Guns80.com, Guns80.com, and let the unprepared have our share of the bugs.
You know about RVs, you've heard about bunkers, but surviving is not recreation, and man wasn't made to live underground. Introducing Survivalist Camps, the ultimate fully functional off-the-grid survival bug-out house that's mobile, well-equipped, and custom-built to outlast any other RV or trailer. Go to survivalistcamps.com to learn more. That's survivalistcamps.com, providing your basic needs to survive. Survivalistcamps.com.
Are your Google search results killing you? Unflattering content in blogs, news articles, online reviews, social media, or other sources can jeopardize your reputation, your business, and your livelihood. Let Reputation.com help. Our patented technology will make the truth about you more visible while pushing down unwanted negative content. Improve your Google search results. Call Reputation.com at 1-800-831-0771 for a free consultation. That's 800-831